Wednesday, where we're going to be talking about weather where you are. Yes, if you want us to share with you what the weather is going to be like in your area, send us a link. Connect with us right now. Go ahead and enter where you are watching from, and we will make mention of what your weather is doing where you are. So, weather around the world. Now, there's not too much happening. Not too much excitement going on around the world. So we are just going to take a look at weather as a whole. So first off, taking a snapshot of weather around the world, today's magic word is Perth. Have you ever heard of the town or city of Perth? Now, the one that comes to mind is Perth, Australia. But did you know there is a Perth, Scotland? And a Perth, Ontario. We're going to take a look at the weather there, as well as some friends of ours that we have in Lahore, Pakistan. So we're going to take a look at weather where you are there. As I mentioned, not a whole lot going on. Let's take a look at the clouds around the world here. Here is the United States. That's where we're from here. That's where we are broadcasting from, the U.S. right here. And we can see over the last several days, there was a system that moved across the southeast United States. Here is that Hurricane Delta that Louisiana and Texas experienced right here. You can see it coming on shore right there, created some storm surge and flooding conditions. In fact, in some areas of Louisiana, they experienced 12 to 15 inches of rain from that cloud system. That is quite a bit of water there, creating a lot of flooding. That system moved up into the East Coast and it has since dissipated. Now, it's amazing how those hurricanes just kind of disappear. Why? What causes those hurricanes to disappear when they hit land? So if you mentioned that they run out of fuel, that's right. They run out of that heat and humidity from the oceans, particularly the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico here. When they run out of that fuel, they dissipate. They expend all their energy in the form of precipitation and wind, and they get rid of all that energy, and then they move on and they dissipate. Anything to keep an eye on? Well, there is a little cloud system right here off of the Baja Peninsula. We'll keep an eye on that. Keep that in mind when we look at the forecast. Moving on over the western part of the United States, look at this ridge right here. This ridge means there's some high pressure, no clouds right here, high pressure kind of steering this cloud system up and over the northwest part of the United States. Looking around the rest of the world, not a whole lot as far as cloud formation, significant storms. Typically, the Southeast Pacific here, that is typically a lot of moisture, a lot of rain. You'll get your occasional thunderstorms. Looking around, we have a low pressure system over Europe right now, bringing just some rain conditions in Central Europe. And so really significant, nothing significant moving on around the world. So let's take a look at our word for the day, Perth. Let's start in Perth, Australia. Perth is located right here on the western part of Australia, home to about 2 million people. It is the largest city on the western part of Australia. The next closest city to Perth, Australia, the next closest city of more than 100,000 people is over 1,300 miles away. So Perth is the largest city in the major area there of Australia. Over the next several days, as we move on to, this is the forecast model, okay? So what we were looking at is satellite model or the satellites images of what it looks like right then. But this is the forecast model looking at Australia. Again, Perth is right around here, right there. Perth is going into its spring season. Just like here in the United States, where we live in the northern hemisphere, we are moving into our fall season. Perth, because it is in the southern hemisphere, is moving into its spring season. So over the next several days, Perth is going to experience some nice warm weather, about upper 70s, lower 80s. We have a nice high-pressure system, usually develops over the desert part of Australia right there. Looks like they might be getting some possibilities of a low-pressure system. See this right here? That's a low-pressure system moving ashore possibly later in this forecast model, about the October 23rd or 24th, starting to invade there a little bit. But for the most part, because of this high-pressure system over Western Australia, mostly it's going to be warm, just warm, sunny weather there. So that is Perth, Australia. Moving on to Perth, Scotland. Well, where is that? That is right about here. Right about there. And as we bring up so keep that in mind as we move forward in our forecast. Right here, that's Perth, Scotland. Perth is home to about 50,000 people. It is known for, as being at one time in the 1400s, the capital of Scotland. It's also nearby where they would crown their kings of the Scotland area. So Perth, Scotland, right about there. Over the next several days, they're going to get just lots of clouds. You can see right here, this dip right here. That is low pressure system. So that means cloudy weather for this whole area of Great Britain. Clouds, 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 clouds. See, there's a system coming in right there. Going to hit Sweden and Finland right here. So as we move forward, clouds, clouds. Oh, here's another system coming in, clouds. So if you like clouds, go to Scotland. Go to Perth, Scotland. They're going to be seeing a lot of clouds over the next several days. So that is your weather for Perth, Scotland. And lastly, Perth, Ontario, before we move on to our last stop of the day. Perth, Ontario. Actually, let me bring up a different overlay here so that you can possibly see. Nope, not that one. There we go. There's some dark lines so that you can possibly see Ontario here. Perth, Ontario is just over the border of mid-north New York right here. So it's right about here is Perth, Ontario, home to about 5,000 people. Perth, Ontario is known for, back in the early 1900s, sending a 22,000-pound ball of cheese to the World's Fair. So there you go. Perth, Ontario made a very big wedge of cheese. So here we go, Perth, Ontario, right here. Over the next several days, they are going to experience some good weather and some cloudy weather. So here's a system moving through right here, low pressure, going to bring some moisture, some possible rain, and then they're going to get a little bit of a ridge. See that right there, ridge, followed by another system moving on. This system is sliding down into more of the northern part of the United States right here. They will get that too as it moves through, but you can see that system sliding down to mainly the northern part of the states as it moves across. So that is Perth, Ontario, a mixture of a couple days of sun, a couple days of moisture, some clouds, and that is Perth, Ontario. The last one we wanted to do, unless I hear from you guys, if you want your forecast, let us know on our social media pages. But we're going to look at take a look at not Perth, Pakistan, but Lahore, Pakistan. We had the opportunity to connect with some students in Lahore last week. It was a wonderful time. We did a virtual field trip with them. We have the opportunity, we have the ability to do virtual field trips. So if you're interested in virtual field trips, reach out to us at discoverspace.org. We can do that for you. I'm going to switch this back to white borders here so that you can see. Here is India. Here is Pakistan. Here's Afghanistan. So Lahore, Pakistan is actually right about here. So see where that jogs into India, just right there. Lahore is right there. Lahore is a city with about 11 million people, so a very substantial city in Pakistan. And so we're going to take a look at the weather in Pakistan, the forecast for the next several days. And again, what we're looking for is ridges or troughs. So here is a ridge right here. That means sunny weather. So moving forward, oh, another ridge right there. Moving forward, more ridges, and another ridge, and another ridge, and another ridge. Pakistan, you are going to experience temperatures in the lower 90s, sunny weather, not a chance of a cloud for the next several days. Up until I see what's kind of interesting is this system right here. Looks like there's a change in the weather coming after October 24th. So maybe 25th or 26th, Lahore, Pakistan, take a look or keep your eyes on the weather. This forecast model is bringing a little bit of change. Do you guys remember what those black lines mean, especially when they're close together? If you said wind, you are correct. I am impressed with my Weather Wednesday watchers. If you see those contour lines, those pressure lines really close together, that means a change in the weather, and typically that brings wind with it. You can see that here in Colorado. So I see we have a couple viewers from Colorado, even one from Baja, Mexico. That's awesome. So let's take a closer look at Colorado and Mexico there. So first off, Colorado, let me back up to the beginning here, which is today's date, the 14th, and moving forward in there. Again, we're looking for troughs or ridges. A little bit of a trough today. Over the next probably 12 hours to 24 hours, expect some clouds here in Colorado. Moving forward, we see this system right here. So there's a system up in the northern part of the U.S., and it's going to drop down a little bit. Oh, look at that. See that drop right here with a few contour lines close together? See those close together? That means on the 15th there, about tomorrow, we're going to experience a change in the weather. And those contour lines of being close together, that means, as we were talking about before, wind. Okay, so we're going to experience a little bit of wind. Expect that. But it's going to be followed by a ridge. So that's going to be a quick moving system followed by a ridge. See that ridge right there? Moving forward, another ridge. So that's a high pressure system pushing that low pressure out. So whatever we're going to experience over the next day or so, about 24 to 36 hours, is going to be a quick moving system moving its way through. We're going to get back to some sunny weather, and then looking back, again, ridge. Looking forward here, it's going to be kind of an unusual system. Looking at this, it's going to develop over the plains here. That cold air that came down from Canada, that cold air is going to be sliding across the Midwest. So the Midwest is going to experience some colder weather over the next couple days, and we'll have to see how that impacts us here in Colorado. That's something to definitely take a watch for on about October 20th or so. It's not going to be a big change in the weather. You can see those contour lines are spread out, so it's not really going to be a dramatic change as it goes into the following days. And then another system coming through again just to the east of Colorado and north on October 23rd. So October 23rd, we might get another cool down, more cooler weather coming in on the 23rd. But for the most part, tomorrow, big change, a little bit of wind, and then moving forward, some sunny days after that. And then keep an eye on the 23rd. Now, lastly, going on to Baja, Mexico. So I mentioned at the very beginning there was a cloud system right off the peninsula, the Baja Peninsula. So that's this area right here. So you can see that cloud system right here. What's going to happen to it? Well, according to this forecast here, nothing much. It's kind of going to disappear. That cloud system that's starting out right here, it's going to dissipate. It's not going to strengthen, and it's kind of going to disappear. So that will not turn into a hurricane, according to the forecast model. You can see as we move forward here, high pressure right here, moving forward, high pressure following that cloud system. And so I can see that high pressure system here. I can see that just fluctuate, just up and down with a day-night cycle there. So it looks like it's going to be stay sunny and warm in Baja, California, and the Baja Peninsula, Mexico. It's going to stay pretty warm and dry for the next several days. We've got one system kind of sliding down here by the 22nd and 23rd. We'll have to keep an eye on that for the Baja Peninsula. Just that little system right there. So about the 22nd or 23rd, we'll see if the weather changes much. But for the most part, sunny in Baja, Mexico. Well, I think that is it for today. Again, weather around the world. We were looking at a few specific cities. Perth, find out where those different Perth cities are. And then also took a look at Pakistan and Baja, Mexico. If you want us to do weather where you are, please send us a message on our social media pages. We look forward to hearing from you. Next week, we're going to take a look at temperature, a little bit of history behind why do we have Fahrenheit? Why do we have Celsius? And what is this temperature thing called Kelvin? So stay tuned for next week as we talk a little bit of history behind the temperature scale. Until next time, thanks for joining me on today's Weather Wednesday.